Yogananda, in this case as expressed through the remembrances of Swami Kriyananda's years when he lived with him, and he shares those in his autobiography called The New Path. And I'm taking today a quotation, a brief chapter entitled True Teaching is Individual. Whenever fellow disciples spoke to me of trying to, quote, understand the Master, I would marvel. It struck me as rather like trying to understand the universe. But the task that infinity has placed is, quote, understand thyself, or know thyself, as the Greeks used to put it. To study the life of a master with the purpose not of understanding him, but of obtaining deeper insights into one's own true nature, into one's own potential for divine unfoldment. This is the wise use of the faculty of discernment. And this is such an interesting thought to contemplate, to understand as Swami Kriyananda understood when he lived with Yogananda. As if to be a flawless mirror, which he was, to reflect back to us our own higher nature, our own higher self. It was not to show us who he was. The great ones don't come far. They come to show us, to give us a reflection back of our own highest nature, so that we can better know ourselves, know thyself, and to better understand how we can come back to the essence of our own highest nature. That is the only purpose and the true purpose of the Guru, of the great ones, the masters, the fully liberated souls who come to help us. And that is truly the only purpose of our entire life. All of our experiences are to bring us back to that understanding, to the center of our own soul. And so the Guru comes to bring us that. The true teacher comes. And yet, so often, people think that they need to understand him or her. It's not ever about anything outside of ourselves. The kingdom of heaven resides within. The scriptures of East and West both aver. And so the true understanding comes when we take what we see in them reflected from us and understand ourselves better as a result of that. And bit by bit, the steps to bring our own nature back into balance. So often people said, who lived around Yogananda, they would hear him give amazing public talks, lectures, and they would say, oh, how blessed you are, to those disciples who were living in Yogananda's ashram. And those disciples would just sort of, shake their heads and chuckle within, because in their living with him, they understood that he rarely spoke to them. He rarely spelled out his guidance. He always made them reach for that guidance within themselves. He helped them to recognize when they needed guidance by allowing them to bump into this wall or that wall, But when they did, they would, have a little wake-up call from that experience, and they would realize that there was something they needed to reach for inside themselves to understand what, and therefore to, once recognizing that, to help make the change that they needed to do the little course correction or big course correction that was needed in that moment. Swami Kriyananda learned that from Yogananda, from living with him. And to that extent, I was going to say that he was able to use his intuition wisely. He helped to guide us in those ways as well. And it is incredibly rewarding when we come to an understanding of what is needed within ourselves and take steps to act accordingly. It never works when somebody just tells us what to do or spells it out. In fact, they can't spell it out because true teaching is individual, and so the application of that truth for each and every one of us is unique to us. All they can do, or the best they can do, I should say, and a true teacher does this, is they are a reflection of that truth, and they share that with us in silence and allow us to reach for it. Joy to you, and we'll see you again tomorrow.